בראשית ברא אלוהים עץ השמיים ועץ הארץ והארץ ויסוסוהו ובוהו וחושך על פני תהום ורוח אלוהים מרחפת על פני המים ויאמר אלוהים יהי אור ויהי אור וירא אלוהים את האור כי טוב ויבדל אלוהים.
Growing up was kind of difficult because I grew up in a very religious house, but I myself was never really religious. I never really kind of drank the Kool-Aid.
Came here when I was 6 years old from Russia. My parents wanted me to be in a Jewish school, so they enrolled me in Hillel. I spent K through 8 there, and I guess that's where I would found my Judaism, but it didn't pick up that well. So by 4th grade, I was questioning everything.
Many people are shocked in disbelief when I tell them that I don't believe in God, that I'm an atheist. And especially when I tell them the way I was raised, that I was raised in an Orthodox setting, in an ultra-religious lifestyle, they are just shocked.
I was raised fairly religious, still in a pretty religious household. My parents are a bit upset that I don't participate in a lot of the family events. I don't go to temple.
I grew up in an Orthodox Chabad household, very religious. I went to a religious Jewish school my entire life until I was 17. I kept Shabbat and kept kosher at home and followed all the Orthodox religious Jewish practices.
Me and my mom talked about it just once, I believe, and my father, I don't believe we've really talked about it. I think he knows that I am. She was shocked. She looked like surprised at me that I would, because most of what she believes in is very spiritual. But they don't hold anything against me. It's my choice. We still have a good relationship. I think it would have been easier for them if I was more religious, but we get along. And they're not very religious themselves, but they do light candles on the anniversary of someone's death. They do light the Hanukkah candles. They do go to synagogue on holy days. So they don't mind that I'm not joining them, but they understand it's my choice.
My mother doesn't particularly like the fact that I am an atheist. She doesn't really try to convince me otherwise, though. She just kind of more or less asks me not to try to argue with other family members or with other people in the presence of my family, which I really respect, which is, I think, great of her.
It's very funny because my father is very religious and he's very knowledgeable about his religion, but he will not debate me. He will not talk to me about it. It's just, well, you don't believe it, there's nothing I can do. He's never challenged me, he won't debate me. I think he's a little bit afraid to debate me because his entire belief system, libraries and libraries of books that he has memorized that he can quote, are all based on an assumption that has no evidence supporting it. So there's no kind of pillars supporting that whole building.
I was taught a very strict, firm belief in that there's a God, that our religion is the true religion, that there's a certain way you have to live your life, and this is the way you were raised.
I've had both religious and scientific backgrounds in my education growing up, through college and through high school.
Religion is a method to control the population. It's a way to keep people compliant and happy. Religion is basically a business like any other. Instead of manufacturing a product to make money off of technology, food, whatever, houses, they manufacture a product that gets people to belong to the group, and then they can lead the group as they wish.
The evidence for evolution is a lot stronger than evidence for creation. There is actually evidence for evolution as opposed to creation. So that's why I'm an atheist.
I was 17 years old. I was still in the religious yeshiva in Morristown, New Jersey, Rabbinical College of America. I started realizing that I wasn't quite happy with the way I was living, and I didn't want to become a rabbi. I didn't want to have to rely on other people's donations to support my family. I wanted to be able to go to college and be able to support a family from my own work. And throughout the course of the year, I spent a year at home afterwards, and I realized that I didn't quite believe in a lot of the things I was raised to believe in, and I came to question so many of the things that I was taught to be facts, to not be just like beliefs. And I started thinking for myself and realized how different my actual opinions, my actual beliefs were from the way I was raised.
We would go every morning to Hillel in the synagogue that's inside the school, and we would pray every morning, we're just praying in Hebrew. And I'm thinking to myself, even at 4th grade, I'm thinking to myself, why are we praying in a language that I don't even understand yet? Yes, I know I've been speaking and we've been learning Hebrew, but I'm not fluent yet. And honestly, I'm just saying sounds. So I'm not even sure what I'm saying it to or who I'm saying it to. And then I figure out these prayings say, "Blessed thou art Lord our God," and everything's toward Him as if He is this big idol.
When I was in 1st grade, I was sent to a religious indoctrination camp, aka yeshiva, and what they did was the teacher would instruct you to pray, and you'd pray every day in the morning. And there was a little poster board where by everyone's name there was a bunch of columns for every day, and if you prayed really loudly you would get a sticker. And I really wanted those stickers, so I actually was the class leader. I prayed the longest, I prayed the hardest, I prayed the loudest. Every day I was the best at it. I was really good at praying. And then like halfway through the year we filled up the poster board, and it turned out what those stickers did was they got you tickets to a raffle. And so I don't know if I didn't like the prizes or I didn't win anything. I just had a lot of tickets but I didn't win anything. But when I realized I didn't care about the raffle anymore, the second poster board for the second half of the year started off with a clean poster board, and I ended up being in the very last place. I went from 1st place to last place. In the beginning, all I wanted was were the prizes. I didn't believe in the prayer at all. I didn't see anybody that I was talking to. I just wanted the prizes. And once I decided I didn't care about the prizes, I went literally from the class leader to at the very last place. I didn't care about prayer. Who am I talking to? Even as a kid, I didn't understand it the way I understand it today, but I just never really did believe in it.
When you start paying attention to a lot of the literature that you're exposed to in a religious environment, in my school it was the Old Testament, and then later teachings of the Talmud and all the rabbinical, and you can definitely see that one thing I started paying attention to is I've definitely picked up the fact that both were works of men, in a sense that the knowledge of a man's mind could really be reflected in those books, given the period of time they were written in. That kind of more or less killed it in my mind that it was passed down from a greater being.
In my early 20s, I finally found the science I wanted, and that was through reading books like Chariots of the Gods. So, and that would explain to me, they literally separated the Bible and the Torah story by story and explaining it in events that would be scientific more than a miracle. Why would God put us on this earth in His image just to let us fight each other, kill each other? That doesn't seem like God that is peaceful, a God that loves me. That seems like a sociopath. And to me, that I don't want to believe in.
Religion to me is a belief in an imaginary being right now. It's saying that, oh, there's something up in the sky that tells us what we should think, what we should do, what we can eat, what we can't eat, and the belief in guilt and letting that choose your life decisions instead of having your own free choice. That is a very dear and near thing to me.
I didn't like the stories that was in the Torah and the Bible. I just didn't like the stories how God would punish those who didn't follow him. I felt like my God wouldn't be vengeful. Mine was peaceful. Mine wanted me to succeed. Just like why I was 4 years old and I would cry at night and yell for my parents. They're scared. I mean, if I told you tomorrow that, and everyone believed me, that we are alone, there's nothing else, and that we are, there is no God, what would you do? They would say they're alone, they don't know what's going on. They want to have a reason. When every single time you see in a documentary about Iraq, or the mothers are always yelling, when their sons die, they're always yelling, praise Allah. And the thing is that they keep saying, and then the translation says, it's God's way. It was God's way that they died. You know, that was just his reason. They want to believe that, because other than that, otherwise there's no reason for his death. That's what they want to believe. So the people are saving their self by believing something that they, it's a security blanket to me.
Because I never really believed in anything, I can't quite isolate the exact time when I officially called myself an atheist, but growing up in a very fundamentalist house, surrounded by religious people, my family, my school, my private school I got sent to, was basically kept in isolation. And so I can't really identify the specific time when I became an atheist, but I was never quite on board. I was never quite a follower. I never really drank the Kool-Aid. I was always kind of a non-believer. So I just pretty much say my whole life I've been an atheist.
Belief in God as the primary one. Belief in creation versus evolution was the big one, really. The fact that science has proven over and over again the fact of evolution, and they still will try finding many different reasons to be like, oh, that's the scientists are. You have one scientist here that believes in evolution, but they don't listen to him. You have one scientist, you have one religious person, many religious people that don't believe in creationism, that believe in the fact that there's evolution.
Why is it only the poor that believe in God so much? Why is it the ones who are desolate, or the ones who always go through hardship that believe in God, while the rich, the well-off, the unharmed, they always don't?
The reward of this afterlife that comes with being a religious person does definitely sound rewarding. It's, I guess, easier for people to believe, and you know, it's also easier to cope with things when they don't work out, to just say, well, that's God's will.
I don't know what kid doesn't know there's a Holocaust by the time he's 10 years old, and taking to the Holocaust Museum and showing all these horrific things that happen to our culture, and not saying to themselves, where's the God? I'm sure that their parents and their nieces and nephews and everybody was on their knees in those camps yelling to God, please save us. And I'm sure some of them kept their faith even when they survived it. But what I'm saying is that, why did it happen in the first place? Why was there the Armenian genocide? Why was there the Sudanese genocide? Why are there genocides?
Although I may not believe in the same things that other religious people do, and many of my old friends do, I don't look down upon any of them. The fact that they believe in what they believe in, that's fine by me, and many people take strength and solace in belief, but that's not me. And you know, some people can take solace in believing in unicorns, but I don't find that any more comforting or giving me any more strength than, say, believing in God would.
If you're happy with reality, why would you need a religion, some kind of a crutch like religion, some kind of a handicap? If you need religion to be happy, it means something is wrong with your life. And I would say fix the problem, fix your belief system, fix your philosophy, think about stuff, read more, turn off your TV, get some exercise, eat some fruits and vegetables, change something, make yourself happy. You shouldn't require a fictional belief system based on nothingness in order to be happy. So I would say that religion makes you happy is no more legitimate than that drugs make people happy.
My mom always references, oh, well, God will do this for you and God will do that for you. Well, I saw what God did. What he did was that he cut them earlier in their prime. I'm not blaming him, but what I'm saying is that the circumstances is that he brought them here, and now my father, I feel like he's doing overtime, and he's pushing himself to provide for his family, where he didn't have to do that if we weren't being persecuted, if we weren't being forced because we were Jewish. So I guess at that point I was saying to myself, well, why would a God be that vengeful to my parents? And then at the same time I'm hearing from the Christian side, where, you know, I'm going to a half Christian, half Jewish, half Chaldean high school, and I'm hearing, well, if you're not Christian, you're going to go to hell. And I'm thinking to myself, so my mom, my father, my grandmother, grandfather, everyone I know is Jewish. Don't hurt nobody. They go to work, they come home, they pray on holy days, and they're going to hell for no apparent reason but the fact that they will not come to their knees and say, I love Jesus.
I wouldn't say I'm an outsider to the Jewish people, only the Jewish religion, because I consider myself outside of all religions. But as far as culturally, ethnically, whatever, genetically, you know, I'm still one of the Jewish people, and I do have friends now. I have plenty of friends, in fact, that are Jewish. So I'm not selecting for or against Jewish people, but yeah, they're in my life.
Because of my atheistic lifestyle, I've lost a lot of my childhood friends from the yeshiva, from my religious youth. They don't accept me for the person that I've become. A lot of them try imposing upon me the religious beliefs and practices that they were raised with, and many of them are still practicing. And thankfully, my parents have managed to support me, but even my parents, it took them several years to fully accept me for the person that I've become and my beliefs and my lifestyle.
Since a child growing up in a very fundamentalist, isolated environment, I've always known where I stood and known where other people stand. And it's kind of the thing where people know me and they know who I am. And the types of people who would dislike me for not having blind faith in something are the types of people that I probably wouldn't hang out with in the first place. So I wouldn't say I've lost any friendships over being an atheist.
In general, I would have to say that all my friends are atheists. That's just kind of how things turned out. I do have a couple friends still from high school, which are fairly religious, who I don't really bring up these issues with. They know I'm an atheist. I know they're not, so we just kind of leave it alone and never even talk about it. It's just one of those things that we don't agree on, so that conversation is never brought up.
I don't really associate with people who dislike atheists because I don't hide it. I don't live in hiding that I'm an atheist.
I associate myself with other agnostics, atheists. I have a hardship with those who are Orthodox or who are conservative because I see them praying, you know, morning, noon, and night. And I don't want to say to me it's funny, but to me it's just how has he helped you other than helping me? How does praying morning, noon, and night, how does benefit your life more than it has mine? Because we both live in the same socioeconomic culture. We both go into the same schools. How does it benefit you? And at the same time, I feel like either they're enlightened or I am. Either they're making a fool of themselves or I am.
Many of my friends that I hang out with now are, in fact, Jewish, non-atheists. Most of them are not religious, though, but they still go to religious events and Jewish teachings and the like. I still do hang out with them at religious events, but I don't go there for the religious teachings. I go there to hang out with them in a social setting, and I can just get along with them well, and they don't try pushing their beliefs upon me. And most of them aren't Orthodox. They're Reform or non-observant, but they are non-atheists.
I have a mix of friends. When I moved away for the first time at 18, when I moved to college, I had almost no Jewish friends whatsoever. I was just sick of it all. It was the first time away from home, and I didn't want to have anything to do with religion. It was just the bane of my existence, just surrounded by fundamentalism my entire life. So I really wanted nothing to do with it.
Being an atheist, especially in the environment I'm mostly in, which is, with people that are scientists, there's a good majority of atheists, and there's also a good majority of people who are maybe not atheists, but they do believe in things like evolution. So it doesn't really bother me in any way. I mean, I don't really socialize with too many people who are religious to the point where that would be a problem.
A lot of people have recently, and ever since I've left the religious background, approached me and tried having me do extra acts of, they call them mitzvos, which are commandments, which I have no belief in, like praying every single day, 3 times a day, and things like that, keeping kosher. That they try convincing me that what I'm doing is wrong and what they believe in is the absolute truth and absolutely right, and have no acceptance for the lifestyle that I live.
Being an atheist is a reflection of your character in terms of issues in general. It's the way you approach life. Are you emotional or are you logical? Do you have an actual system of reasoning, such as the scientific method? Do you calculate things? Do you observe things? Do you measure them? Or do you just jump to conclusions based on absolutely nothing?
I believe the more intelligence you get, the more knowledge you attain, the less you believe.
If you had 2 doctors and you were sick, one doctor says, I have a pill, I don't know what it does, I don't understand your disease, but I have total faith in this pill to cure you. And he can even wear like a robe and a hat and have a beard or something. And you have a second doctor who says, I understand physically what's wrong with you, I have a pill here, I know what the pill does, I can tell you how the pill will interact with your body and produce the positive results that you seek. Most people are going to be the atheist. They're going to choose the science-based medicine, not the faith-based medicine.
Hope to an atheist would be, I would say, it would be an essence of the same feeling, only here you are more or less hoping out of yourself and out of people around you, as opposed to hoping in God. If things don't go right, you hope God helps you. With me, for example, if things don't go right, I hope I can fix it somehow, or I hope people around me can fix it. That's pretty much the difference. I mean, I guess I feel like I'm a little bit more realistic in my hopes, knowing what I can and cannot fix. If something's out of my reach, I don't try to fix it.
I really think that everyone in life is an atheist, from when they wake up until they go to sleep. If you want to know how much money is in your bank account, you don't just have faith in it, you look at how much money is in your bank account. If you want to know what time it is, you look at a watch, or you ask someone who does have a watch. You don't have faith that the time is 4:03 and 17 seconds. If you want to know what the temperature is, you look at a thermometer which measures it. You don't just have faith that the temperature is whatever temperature you guess, 89 degrees. So in general, the fabric of society is atheism. Every single day you're an atheist. When you change lanes and you're driving, you look to see if there's someone in your blind spot. You don't just have faith. Everything you do is about atheism. It's about science, it's about measurement, it's about observation. But when it comes to religion, people aren't consistent, and they just take a leap of faith based on nothing. And to me, that's the real thing. Atheists are really nothing more than consistent with what you need to do to survive every single day. If you weren't an atheist at all, you wouldn't last a single day. You would crash, you wouldn't be able to function. So I really think atheism is just being consistent, not giving the issue of God or religion any special treatment.
I find that I've grown as a person more in accepting other people now, more so than when I was in yeshiva. When I was in yeshiva, they unknowingly sometimes breed prejudice towards people of other cultures, of other religions, or even to fellow Jews that are not Orthodox or not in the same Orthodox sect that I was raised in. They have a superiority complex sometimes, and that's the way I was raised.
If the human race is to make it into the 21st century and beyond, if we are to have space travel and live forever and have supercomputers and all that stuff you see on Star Trek, we definitely can't be religious. If we are to move forward as a species, if we are to make it as a species, we can't be like worshiping thin air or whatever it is we do. It's definitely something we have to move beyond. Society is a little bit behind when it comes to acceptance of atheists. We're basically where homosexuals were at in the 50s. They've done polls. Most people would have no problem voting for an African American, no problem voting for a Hispanic, a Muslim even, or a Christian, or whatever, homosexual, whatever, heterosexual. But the one group of people that people A, hate the most, and B, are least likely to vote for election, for public office, the one group of people that they're least likely to vote for is atheists. Atheists are not well liked, which is understandable because we threaten their fragile belief system, which is based on nothing.
I think the atheist movement will definitely grow. It's growing now. I mean, I would say that 20 years ago, I might have been a little bit more skeptical about doing this interview. I think it will grow with more and more people becoming aware of the, like if you, for example, if I cannot possibly look at people like, say, my grandmother or any person of that generation and be able to explain to them the strength of evolutionary evidence.
It's really amazing. For the first time in human history, you can actually publicly admit that you're an atheist and not be murdered, tortured, excommunicated, imprisoned, etc. You still will in the Muslim world and in certain places around the world, but at least in the Western world over the past couple centuries, we've made remarkable progress. You can actually be an atheist and not be put to death for it.
One of the things I want people to know before they start judging me when I tell them that I'm an atheist is that I am now so more than ever, I am accepting of people from different cultures, different races, different religions, more than I ever was when I was religious, when I was an Orthodox Jew. I don't judge people. I am so against homophobia, against racism, and the intolerance is just, it gets to me and affects me more so now than ever.
It's hard when you have a very religious family for them to accept that they have a child who is not religious. They think you're a bad person. They think you're going to suffer for all eternity or whatever horrible things the religion wishes upon me. But eventually they did come to terms with it. I wouldn't say they're happy about it, but eventually they've learned to accept me for who I am.
I guess I would have to see it. I would have to see him appear in person.
My parents, and along with many other religious friends that I used to have, they still believe and they still tell me, oh, don't worry, you'll be back one day, you'll be religious again. And to which I tell them, there's no way that I'll ever go back to being Orthodox. I don't believe in God. I don't see myself being religious ever again. And that lifestyle and the belief system just don't agree with the way I think and the way I live my life. And I don't believe they ever will.
So I guess nothing except death alone or seeing a presence would make me believe.
I definitely don't see myself ever turning back. Maybe if I witness one of the miracles of which the Bible talks about, I'll have no choice but to believe. I would say that I am 99.9% sure that there is no God. But I'm never ever going to say that I'm 100% sure. I think that would be ignorant.
but he will not debate me. He will not talk to me about it. It's just, well, you don't believe it, you don't believe it, nothing I can do. He's never challenged me, he won't debate me. I think he's a little bit afraid to debate me because his entire belief system, libraries and libraries of books that he has memorized that he can quote, are all based on an assumption that has no evidence supporting it. So there's no kind of pillars supporting that whole building.
I was taught a very strict, firm belief in that there's a God, that our religion is the true religion, that there's a certain way you have to live your life, and this is the way you were raised.
I've had both religious and scientific backgrounds in my education growing up, through college and through high school.
Religion is a method to control the population. It's a way to keep people compliant and happy.
Most of what she believes in is very spiritual. But they don't hold anything against me. It's my choice. We still have a good relationship. I think it would have been easier for them if I was more religious, but we get along. And they're not very religious themselves, but they do light candles on the anniversary of someone's death. They do light the Hanukkah candles. They do go to synagogue on holy days. So they don't mind that I'm not joining them, but they understand it's my choice.
My mother doesn't particularly like the fact that I am an atheist. She doesn't really try to convince me otherwise, though. She just kind of more or less asks me not to try to argue with other family members or with other people in the presence of my family. Which I really respect, which is, I think, great of her.
It's very funny because my father is very religious and he's very knowledgeable about his religion.
בראשית ברא אלוהים עץ השמיים ועץ הארץ והארץ ויסוסוהו ובוהו וחושך על פני תהום ורוח אלוהים מרחפת על פני המים ויאמר אלוהים יהי אור ויהי אור וירא אלוהים את האור כי טוב ויבדל אלוהים בין האור.
Growing up was kind of difficult because I grew up in a very religious house, but I myself was never really religious. I never really kind of drank the Kool-Aid.
Came here when I was 6 years old from Russia. My parents wanted me to be in a Jewish school, so they enrolled me in Hillel. I spent K through 8 there, and I guess that's where I found my Judaism, but it didn't pick up that well. So by 4th grade, I was questioning everything.
Many people are shocked in disbelief when I tell them that I don't believe in God, that I'm an atheist. And especially when I tell them the way I was raised, that I was raised in an Orthodox setting, in an ultra-religious lifestyle, they are just shocked.
I was raised fairly religious, still in a pretty religious household. My parents are a bit upset that I don't participate in a lot of the family events. I don't go to temple.
I grew up in an Orthodox Chabad household, very religious. I went to a religious Jewish school my entire life until I was 17. I kept the Shabbat and kept kosher at home and followed all the Orthodox religious Jewish practices.
Me and my mom talked about it just once, I believe, and my father, I don't believe we've really talked about it. I think he knows that I am. She was shocked. She looked like surprised at me that I would, because
religion is basically a business like any other. Instead of manufacturing a product to make money off of technology, food, whatever, houses, they manufacture a product that gets people to belong to the group, and then they can lead the group as they wish.
The evidence for evolution is a lot stronger than evidence for creation. There is actually evidence for evolution as opposed to creation. So that's why I'm an atheist.
I was 17 years old. I was still in the religious yeshiva in Morristown, New Jersey, Rabbinical College of America. I started realizing that I wasn't quite happy with the way I was living, and I didn't want to become a rabbi. I didn't want to have to rely on other people's donations to support my family. I wanted to be able to go to college and be able to support a family from my own work. And throughout the course of the year, I spent a year at home afterwards, and I realized that I didn't quite believe in a lot of the things I was raised to believe in, and I came to question so many of the things that I was taught to be facts to not